It is Sunday, March the 5th, 2017, Wrestleview Live number 10. I am Adam Martin, editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com. There we go. Hi, everybody. We're live on YouTube. I was going to plug an official YouTube URL, but it's a little long, so we're going to get that one figured out. But subscribe to us if you like to watch these live podcasts. It'll give you a nice little notification when we go live, or you could watch the archive on the video. We don't really care. Either way, we appreciate that. We also have an audio podcast version of this on SoundCloud and iTunes. Just look up Wrestleview Media. And we'll get into, I know the last time we did this show, we talked about some changes, so we'll talk about that a little bit, because we have a special guest this evening and to join us to talk about Fastlane, which is, I think, appropriate because of how WCW-ish this show felt tonight with the ending. Let's just go to these gentlemen. I'm going to bring in first. He brings you the funny ha-has via @DougWrestleView on the Twitters, although he's taken a hiatus from that. I need a new intro for you, Douglas. Doug Lackey joins me right now. New intro.
I don't know what kind of intro to make, really.
I mean, some kind of a new intro.
Skulker of the Facebooks?
Skulker of the Facebooks. Are you skulking lately these days, or what's going on with that?
I've been doing a lot of skulking.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of memeing.
A lot of memes?
Doing a lot.
Skulking and memes.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just a lot of really infantile stuff.
Okay.
You know.
And also, we have a special guest, Douglas. We've been doing, what? 8 or 9 of these solo? Well, I mean, not solo. We've been just kind of doing them together. But I was going to do, yeah, we've done 10 of these officially now. I had talked about doing some kind of a podcast with this gentleman last week. It just kind of fell through, but we're glad to have him. And I was surprised that he wanted to come on here and talk some wrestling, because the last time I talked to this gentleman, he had no interest in talking about wrestling. It's the Trey Dawg Trey on the radio on the Twitters, correct, sir? Yes. Trey Dawg, how are you, sir?
I still wouldn't say I'm dying to talk wrestling, but to hang out with you gentlemen and the old listener base will be a fun experience. And I think what your intro for Doug should be is the guy that collected the loose hair from Rusev's haircut.
And put it in a bag for safekeeping.
Yeah, it's right there in that pillow. It's right there in that pillow, right over there.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I like it.
I have the sweetest dreams resting my head on that pillow full of his hair.
I like that he got everybody to call him handsome now too when he got the new haircut. Doug and I teamed up, and we decided we both had kind of the same end goal in mind, and we broke into Lana and Rusev's hotel room, and he took the hair from Rusev's head, and I took a pair of Lana's panties, and we just made a break for it. So there you go. Lovely. Well, I mentioned at the very beginning that this was going to be interesting to have you on the show tonight, because you and JSK back in the Wrestling News Live days were unapologetically the WCW homers of that show, and I always felt like you felt forced into watching.
We got labeled homers for a lot of things, to be honest. I mean, we were labeled WCW homers. We were at one point TNA homers. I mean, a
lot of things on that show, but
yeah.
But I always felt like, especially in the early days of that show when I joined you, that you felt like you had to watch Raw, because that was, at the time, before TNA started up, that was like really the only thing left to watch. So I could always sense this, like, we got to watch Raw. We got to talk about Raw. You didn't really want to talk too much about SmackDown. I sound like the lady that interjected with your Jim Ross interview. But I remember just kind of this, like, especially from JSK, like, you guys were like, all right. And even the WC, and I started doing radio with you probably a full year after the Invasion stuff. This was like summer 2002 when, like, Austin left and they tried to bring the NWO back and just weird stuff. It was a weird summer, but it's interesting because the last time I think we all were together doing a podcast was around Christmas time, and we were all kind of reflecting on the product, and we were kind of like, it's just not, it's in a definite lull. And this was even post Goldberg beating Lesnar in like a minute and a half. And we're on a full on nostalgia kick right now with this company, where there's like this uprising of young talent. We have a hotbed, and it was at one point in NXT. A lot of guys coming up from NXT. You have just a ton of TNA guys either in NXT now or on the main roster. And then you got, and there's no way around this. You got old man Goldberg showing up and doing matches that last, a minute and 30 seconds and 21 seconds or 22 seconds, or, it's a little strange. And I know a lot of people were expecting this. I think that from the outside looking in, as soon as they booked Owens and Goldberg, people were like, well, they're totally going to do this. And I try to remember what time it was. I tweeted when the main event started, and I'm not even joking when I kind of wanted to timestamp it. Goldberg came out first, Owens came out second. They were both officially in the ring for the first time tonight at 10:57 p.m. Eastern. So there was this moment where it was like, are they gonna fake us out? Are they gonna pretend like they're gonna do this match really fast? And then Owens kind of bailed a little bit. Jericho walks out. What was it? 21 seconds. Spear, jackhammer, done. We have a new champion. So I don't know if you guys were fixated on Twitter or Facebook. I know, Trey, you've made an effort to kind of avoid that at times, especially during live wrestling, because everyone's kind of I like it. I like to sit there on Twitter and refresh the timeline and get a feel for what people are saying. But I guess we'll start with you, since you are the WCW homer of this panel. What are you thinking about Old Man Goldberg being back in 2017 as a world champion?
It's funny because you brought up JSK earlier. He and I were in a fantasy basketball league together, and I've been in the same league with the same guys. It goes back. I had Jordan on my roster at one point when he was with the Wizards. That's how long I've been in the same basketball league with these same guys. So it goes back to when Wrestling News Live was at, its early stages. We were in this basketball league together, and a lot of the guys in that league still know me as a wrestling guy. And so whenever there's big matches or pay-per-views or something, usually the night of, the message boards on the basketball league, the guys will always say, well, Trey, what's going to happen? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I'll just give them a quick little opinion. And tonight that was asked about what do I think is going to happen with Goldberg and Owens. And I at 7 o'clock, this is what I said. I said, Jericho will interfere, costing Owens. Won't be a very long match. If it's a match at all, Goldberg wins. Those are my exact, I'm looking at it right now. Those were my exact words. And that's exactly what happened. And it's funny because I vaguely remember the Christmas conversation that you talked about for the Crimbus show when we were all giving our thoughts on the state of wrestling, period. But, Goldberg beating Lesnar in a minute and 28 seconds or something like that.
Something like that,
yeah. We still haven't seen Goldberg do anything.
Not really.
We still haven't. We still haven't seen him do anything. Even tonight, which I thought tonight going in, even though I said I thought it'd be a short match, I thought it would be a match. And I, like you, I remember looking down at my clock in the bottom right of my computer as I watched online and going, it's 9:57. What the hell are they going to do? And I'm kind of shocked. I mean, I'm not really too overwhelmingly surprised, but I'm kind of shocked that it was another jackhammer or spear jackhammer cover, because that's basically, other than a shove, that's all the Lesnar fight was. To be honest with you, the most work Goldberg's done since returning was in the Rumble match, and he wasn't even in there very long.
Yeah.
But it was longer than anything else he's done. I don't know where I sit on this because it's so fresh yet. But I kind of think that the way they built this, the way they layered their Legos for this, I say, the way they put this together, with the fact that we already knew going in that it was Goldberg Lesnar at Mania, led me to believe that Goldberg was going to win tonight and take that title to the WrestleMania match to make it even bigger. I also saw something that was posted on our page about a possible WrestleMania schedule that was leaked, or a card that was leaked.
Yeah, no, that's always a little silly, though. I don't always trust those things.
That's always a little sketch, yeah. But it did say Goldberg versus Lesnar title retirement match or something, I think, which is probably where they'll go. Yeah. Who knows? But as far as Goldberg being the champion in 2017, it's kind of surreal. I mean, it's weird. The guy looks the part. I mean, even if you look at when he came back for this run, you got to be an idiot to not notice he was wearing a jacket. He was wearing a shirt. He didn't take off his jacket. He wasn't in the shape that he wanted to be in. If what they said tonight is true, and he works out 6 days a week, several times a day, you can get in that kind of shape, and he's in shape as far as he looks. I don't know about how much gas he has in the tank because he hasn't done anything yet.
That's the big question: is can he? I guess. And Doug, I think back to like October before Survivor Series, where you were like, a video game is the reason why we're seeing this dude back on television. And it's one thing to have like okay, we'll do the dream match. He'll come in, he'll leave, he'll keep hawking the video game. That led to the Royal Rumble. This is leading to tonight. This is then leading to WrestleMania. I don't anticipate seeing this guy hanging around post WrestleMania because we all know the lull that company goes through post Mania. But I just think back to your comment of the whole reason why this is even happening is a video game, and now he's the Universal Champion. I don't know. I mean, it is a world championship, but it's now been rebranded. So, thoughts, Douglas?
That happened.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to lampoon a little bit with Trey on this because on our, the show page that we have, and we have the thread for the pay-per-view, I immediately said, get ready for chicken shit heel shenanigans. And what I thought was going to be the Bork Destructo show, because I thought Lesnar was going to make a run-in of some kind. But no, there was no way that they were going to let this match go bell for bell longer than what Goldberg Lesnar did there at Survivor Series. There's no way that was going to happen. But I want to say it was we watch pro wrestling to be taken aback, to be shocked, and most of the time, and we'll go ahead and face facts for how long. All three of us, I want to say combined, all three of us, I bet together, have been watching professional wrestling live on television probably a collective 60 to 70 years. Yeah. We've seen it all, okay? It takes a lot to shock us. And to have the kind of expectations to be shocked every single time you watch a pay-per-view is very far-fetched for the three of us. But when it comes to everyone else who watches professional wrestling and who would watch this show, maybe they would be taken aback by that ending. Oh my God, Goldberg came back. He hasn't stepped foot in a ring in well over, what are we looking at, nearly 15 years? And he's doing this stuff? Wow, he must be really something. Even though he's only been in the ring a collective time of maybe 7 minutes. I don't know.
I guess he was in there for a while how long was he in there for the Royal Rumble? He wasn't out there too long. I mean,
not really. I'm going to say, if anything, he might have been out there not even 10 minutes. Not even that.
He came out and then like two more people came out, and I think the second one to come out after him was Lesnar. He tossed Lesnar, and then he got tossed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was pretty quick.
I don't know.
Very, very, very quick. But
and it's funny that Doug mentions the it wasn't going to go longer than the Lesnar match. I remember thinking when they were doing, I think maybe Goldberg had already come to the ring and we were waiting on Owens, and they made reference again to the minute and 28 with Lesnar.
Yeah.
And I did honestly think to myself, what does that say for Lesnar? Because, I didn't know this was going to happen this way. I thought it might, but I didn't know for sure. But I remember thinking before the match, what does that say for Lesnar that he got squashed in the minute 28 and Owens is going to take him longer than that?
Yeah.
But then again, now the question is, what does that do to Owens? What is it? I mean, is it just like nobody will remember this or nobody will give a shit? Or is this, I got to think this is kind of, in some way, somehow damaging for Owens.
Well, I was trying to not get into the, who's this going to damn, but you can't. It's kind of unavoidable. It's like if he's going to take out Lesnar as quick as he did, of course he was going to take out Owens. And Owen, they made a decent effort to try to portray Owens as like, I'm not that dude, and look at all these other dudes I took out, and that's just not going to happen. I'm not going to allow it. But it's also pretty obvious too that Owens' title reign didn't, wasn't that amazing. I mean, the setup for it with Triple H was really, really well executed. But it just kind of, there was no really fallback on that, and Triple H wasn't on TV for months, and they just kind of started to acknowledge it in, recent weeks, and then Seth got hurt, and now we're still, teasing that is Seth going to wrestle? Is he not going to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania? And then they, Samoa Joe's now in the mix now, so.
Well, let me ask you this. Take away the fact that Seth got injured. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's say that he's still healthy. What was the Owens title run and the Triple H interference to make that happen more about? Was that more about putting that belt on Owens, or was that more about setting up a reason for Rollins to hate Triple H to get us to Mania for their feud? I mean, what was the real end game, or was it for both? I mean, was it to get the title on Owens, let him have a title run as the top guy on that brand, or was it more about, let's see if we can't get Rollins and Triple H in a feud that makes sense to head to WrestleMania?
I actually think it's more threefold. Okay, the Goldberg signing was a done deal a long time ago. This was going to be happening. And the question soon became, okay, well, how far can Goldberg go? Is he just going to be a one-off show on, let's go and just say it, the B of the A pay-per-view Survivor Series? Is he only going to be ready for that? Well, no, it looks like we could probably take him into Mania. Okay, well, let's make this a championship match. Okay, well, how are we going to get the title into that match? But try to set up some programs of sorts involving guys, but still keep them strong going into WrestleMania. How are we going to do this? And they did it perfectly, albeit the mishap of the freak Rollins injury. Even though I'll be brutally honest, workers love to work. I'm not buying this injury this time around, but
much.
Yeah, I'm not by any stretch. I mean, you got to try to garner sympathy for the guy going up against someone who's only been on television 3 times since Kevin Owens has become champion. So how do you do this? You take the focus off of how less Triple H has been on TV and how, sympathetic you're going to be to Rollins. When it comes to the Owens side of things, you have built up this Owens-Jericho storyline since Owens became champion. Actually, before that, this is a 7-month-long program that's been going on with him being a champion and building up this storyline into the turn, into the swerve, to make him vulnerable to lose the title. Hence, that's where we are now. We have 3 matches set up for WrestleMania, and no one could be any of the wiser.
Yeah. And I thought tonight was really nice. I think it was Cole that said the line, Jericho has been there to secure the title for Owens how many times, and tonight he's the one that cost him. That was a good line.
Yeah.
And even since Owens turned on Jericho, and then Jericho wasn't on TV, hasn't been on TV since, which I thought was brilliant. It wasn't a 1-week turnaround now and coming to kick your ass type thing.
Mm-hmm.
With him not being on TV and having yet even really expressed any, repercussion for what Owens did to him, it made it even more important tonight because you knew, at least I said this at 7 o'clock tonight, I knew Jericho had to show up and get involved tonight. I knew he had to. The wild card was the Brock Lesnar thing with Paul Heyman saying, well, he could be here, he might not be, who knows. But I was as excited and it's weird, but I was as excited to see how Jericho would play into tonight's main event as I was to see how the main event itself was going to go. If it was going to be a match or if it was just going to be, fuck around. But it was, now saying that, I'm even more excited for a match I probably wouldn't have been between Owens and Jericho at Mania, because that's where they're going to take it. It'll be interesting to see how they do it from here on out.
There's some genuine interest there, which is, that's a good sign, and I like that. I mean, the card is definitely shaping up, and we're obviously getting a much better idea of where things are going. But it definitely, and again, this was me following on Twitter, and I'm gonna toss the poll up here on the video. But the quick poll we always do with Wrestleview: 65% of people giving the show a thumbs down, 23% thumbs up, and 12% said they didn't bother to watch. So. this was it's definitely trending to be a rather negative reaction to the show tonight. As the show was progressing, I could see, especially there was that weird lull in the middle with Rusev and Jinder and Big Show and and Cesaro, and it was just like, what was, and it was pretty clear, like, the main event wasn't going to go super long, but maybe they were going to mess with us, and they did the Heyman tease, but that didn't really seem to matter. But there was just this middle part of the show where it started to feel like your typical 3-hour episode of Monday Night Raw, without commercials. I mean, it's even harder to watch without commercials. At least you get a little bit of a break there in the action. You can kind of regroup. And that's honestly the scariest part about having a 3-hour show, is that you have these Raw brand only shows, and tonight was 3 hours and a little bit of change, and then tomorrow night, I mean, you're looking at 6 hours of content in the span of 24 hours. I mean, it's a lot of content, and this is another thing we've talked to death about it, so I obviously won't get into that, but man, that's a lot of wrestling.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Was Stephanie really not there, or was she just in another room on her cell phone? Why would Stephanie not be there?
It's just that what they're doing is they've been teasing this dissension between Stephanie and Foley, so that was just their way of that.
But I mean, it's just kind of odd that at a pay-per-view for your brand, that's your baby, that's your big ticket, your brand. Stephanie's brand is Raw. She, it's weird for her not to have been there, even if it was written that way.
They probably were just trying to tease it.
I can't think of any other reason to be in Milwaukee other than that.
Yeah.
We do have a live chat. I should be paying attention to what people are saying. Just kind of giving some quick feedback. Frankie said it wasn't a bad show, but it definitely was a thumbs in the middle. First half was pretty slow. Goosey is claiming that our Facebook group, Trey, is a let's gargle the ball sack of the WWE, which I don't really see a lot of. I see a lot of people being pretty critical of the company on that Facebook group.
Well, he voted for Trump, so what do you get?
He just wants to be angry. I'm surprised he's angry still when Trump won. You think he'd be pretty happy.
Well, he's angry with life in general, so it doesn't matter.
Let's see. What else did Goosey say? He said they've been so busy smashing Roman Reigns to get him over, and to be fair to Kevin, he wasn't even supposed to be champion. Finn would still probably be. It's possible Finn could still be the champion now.
Well, that's true, but I mean, even post Finn's injury, they went the way they went. So, you can't say, to be fair to Kevin, he wasn't supposed to be champion, because they went with the execution of that angle after Finn was hurt. So, that's if it was the other way around, it'd be different, but it couldn't have been. But I'm just saying, to be fair to Kevin, yeah, I mean, Finn was hurt. Then they said, well, what are we going to do next? That's the way they went. That's the way they went, So, which I thought the whole thing with Triple H coming out and screwing over Rollins when he did that night was great, because I didn't see that shit coming. And I love it anytime I don't see something coming, wrestling-wise. It makes it even better.
Which that
the problem is, if it weren't for the Finn injury, and we can go ahead and, pop back the recliner of our booking, our recliner here and go ahead and figure it out. Okay. If Finn were not hurt, what were the programs he would have? Well, the number one thing is he would be going against Rollins, because Rollins is the one that injured him. Mm-hmm. But wait, Rollins is hurt. So but he just got screwed by Triple H. So if you want to make arguments of, none of this would be, what would be happening to Owens, what would be happening to everyone else with Finn, how would you fit Finn into any of this that we've been watching for the past year? You can't. It's
funny because
unfair.
If Finn was healthy right now, I mean, if ifs and buts were cherries and nuts, but if Finn was healthy right now, I can't even tell you who I'd be interested in watching him in a program with on Raw.
We wouldn't have any of the stuff we have right now. That's one thing. I bet you we probably wouldn't even have Braun Strowman. Okay, seriously, we wouldn't have a lot of stuff right now. So
who would he match? I mean, if Finn were healthy right now, looking at that roster, and maybe it's just me, but I mean, who would he be in a program with that would even interest you?
I don't know. And I think that was the biggest problem with him, is like they just hotshotted him up there and like, here's his first pay-per-view match, and he's the champion now, and everyone's like, oh, okay, all right, I guess we're doing this. And that, I think there's this disconnect. At least I feel there's a disconnect between the really hardcore NXT audience and the audience that maybe are very casual buffet watcher. Like, I'm a casual buffet watcher of NXT. I'm not watching every show every Wednesday, and I'm not watching every takeover. To me, it's a good look. It's if you want to get check somebody out and see how they're progressing, maybe. But it's not a must see product. The way a lot of people will tell you it is. I went to an NXT show a couple months ago, and I thought I had a good time. I enjoyed it, but it was a lot of dudes I didn't know, so there's that aspect of it. But the Finn thing was, again, there's that NXT audience that everything they do is great. They don't do anything bad. These guys all have 5-star matches, and when they come to the main roster, they're going to be awesome. You can't tell me I'm wrong, and there's that mentality. And I was kind of a little nervous about that. Not that I was happy that Finn got hurt, because you never want to see somebody who's just starting to get that rise get hurt, but it was very, very quick. It was uncommon, and I'm also sitting here going, I have no idea what they would have done. The direction would have been very, very different. Without question, the direction would have been different, but I don't know.
It's funny because DDS in the chat says NXT isn't as good now, and it's funny you bring that up because NXT is a lot like Raw and WWE in general. Let's just say WWE. As my interest started to go away, it was when my guys started to go away. When my favorites, from my younger days of watching religiously, as they started to ride off into the sunset, my interest in the product started going away. And I don't think it's ironic or timing. I think it's just because my guys started going away. NXT is the same way. If you're a diehard NXT guy and your NXT men and women are now coming up to the main roster, as many of them as they have had come up to the main roster, that takes them away from NXT. So it's just like, even though they went from NXT to the main roster, if NXT is your baby and that's all you care about and all you watch, then they might as well just have retired because they're not on that show anymore. So as you lose star power, that's usually the way the show goes. And it's the same way with me when it was, the main roster guys. Is, Triple H stopped wrestling, Sting stopped wrestling, HBK stopped wrestling. These guys started getting old and they wanted to retire, then I started losing a lot of my interest in the overall product. It's the same way on a smaller scale with NXT.
It is. I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, it's weird though, because all these TNA dudes, Trey, that we followed so closely are now like just kicking around in NXT, and we're just like, it's a very. I never thought like I vividly remember having conversations on Wrestling News Live. Like, I remember when Batista openly criticized the X Division, and we had this like conversation about like a hypothetical Batista Samoa Joe match. And here we are literally 10 years later, and Samoa Joe just had his first pay-per-view match tonight. Right. And AJ had, one of the strongest year debuts, I think, of anybody in a long time. Bobby Roode's the NXT champion. Eric Young's down there with Sanity. It's just weird to see all these TNA dudes that honestly are very old now, and it sucks that they're just getting this opportunity now.
And it's even more weird for me to see what is happening to TNA. I mean, for years, everybody was like, well, if Dixie would just get out of the way, if Dixie Carter would just get the hell out of the way and shut up and leave TNA alone, and they brought in the right booking team and the right business minds, they could make that work. So Dixie gets out of the way. Dixie's not even,
Yeah, I would like to talk about that. I would like to talk a little bit about that later if we have some time, just because of how much has been going down this week, and maybe a possible. I was going to toss something out here at the end about TNA. So, and actually, it's not considered TNA anymore. That's dead as a brand. They're Impact Wrestling for sure now. So
I said they should have done that years ago.
Absolutely,
years ago.
So we'll sneak that in there. Doug, the last time we came on after pay-per-view, I know we made a genuine effort to try to talk about the stuff that we liked about the show, because I feel like here's the one. There's an upside and a downside about doing these live YouTube shows. The upside is the video quality is better, the audio is better. It's an easier way for people to watch us live or watch an archive really quick, because as soon as we finish, it archives. Here's the other downside. Yes. There's like 500 people doing this right now as we're doing this. So,
right.
And I know what they're doing. They're going, okay, match one, Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe. What did you think, Doug? Cool, Doug. Hey, Trey, what did you think? Oh, awesome. And it's just this like stupid roundtable of thoughts. I vote we bypass that, and I liked what you said when I think it was after the Rumble. I think it was either the Rumble or the Chamber show. I can't remember. Where you collectively were watching the show and taking mental notes in your head of like, okay, I definitely like this. Okay, because you're going to remember. I mean, granted, the stuff that sucks might stand out too. Don't get me wrong. But I remember you.
Sure.
I remember you telling me you were taking mental notes in your head about stuff that you liked on the show. So I thought, why don't we do that instead of going match by match, because it's just so fucking boring, and every review show does that.
Well, seriously, I mean, it's very lazy booking by a podcaster's part to just, look at the card and just talk about each match looking down on a piece of paper and talking about it, and you've got your one or two bullet points about it. But let's be also perfectly frank, every single podcast, regardless of what the pay-per-view is, regardless of what was on it, even if it was, free XXX porn between two that you never thought would have done it, they're still going to find something to bitch about it.
Yeah.
Can we just think of things that we enjoyed about the show? Okay. There's plenty of options and plenty of ways where you can bitch about the show. Okay. For me, like, one of the positives that I got from this show, I now realize that B pay-per-views on the WWE network start at 9:30 in the evening instead of 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing that I've realized now, and it's a great thing, okay? I don't have to watch the pay-per-view right when it starts because I can make a sandwich. I could go have a few cigarettes, I might even boink my girlfriend on that bed. Ooh, right over there.
Nice.
I don't know,
Hey,
but I realized that.
What if you boink the girlfriend while eating a sandwich and smoking some cigarettes?
Ooh, that'd be talented right there.
I've got 4 hours of WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure that's not going to start until about 9.
Fuck 4, okay? It's going to be like 6 hours, I think, by the time it
challenge
finish.
Accepted. Okay. But I digress, though. Positives about this show.
What stood out tonight?
What stood out? Can we, for the love of God, the only reason you should be watching wrestling right now is Braun Strowman.
Braun! I love Braun. I love Braun so much.
Seriously. I mean, he is the only reason you should be watching. And yes, everyone's... But Burt won. Know, and that's what I'm calling him now.
Burner,
instead of Roman Reigns. His name now is Burden, because that's what you hear when he walks out. Burden.
He had new fancy shoes tonight. Did everybody see the new white fancy shoes? Everybody was tweeting about that.
He busted out the nice New Balance kicks for tonight's show. I'll tell you that.
He sure did.
It looked to me like he was going to lay down a piece of cardboard and start breakdancing in a bulletproof vest. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, he was wearing the vest for it, too. I mean, he can get at least 8 rotations on his back with that thing.
WWE 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Braun Strowman is a wonder to behold. Okay.
Did it hurt him to lose tonight, though?
What is that?
Did it hurt Braun to lose clean to Roman tonight?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all, because he went down. Mostly any kind of offense or any kind of damage that he was taking in this match were by his own mistakes.
Okay.
They weren't done by Roman. How many times did he slam himself into a ring post, for God's sakes?
The spot in the corner where he was doing the big boot, I thought he might have legitimately blown out his knee there, because the way it slapped the floor, that was bad. It's sad and nasty, at least.
He enacted damage upon himself at least 7 or 8 times. He took, 2 or 3 Superman punches, 2 spears. I mean, of course he's still going to be strong. Okay? For anyone to say that, Reigns got the best of this and he looks great and everything and Braun is nothing. Are you freaking kidding me? No way in hell.
I only disagree with you a little bit here. My only disagreement is, to the smart wrestling fan, the educated wrestling fan, what you just said will ring true. To the casual fan or the non-educated fan, they're going to say, to me, my question is, what happens next with Braun? Because his whole thing has been, I'm the baddest dude on the roster. And you can't come out tomorrow night and say, well, I'm still undefeated. I'm the baddest dude on the roster after losing to Roman Reigns.
Okay. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the only part that bugs me. I really wish Braun would have won tonight.
Well,
I really do.
Sure.
It felt like they were making some like a genuine change and an effort with Braun. Like he was getting not that he wasn't getting like a ton of TV time before, but it seemed like there was like they were kind of like, oh, okay, we might actually do something with this dude. And again, I don't. It's hard for me to buy into somebody losing because everyone's going to lose in wrestling, and this idea that if you lose, then therefore all the all the great progress they've made with Braun, it's not gone. And I know, and you're going into WrestleMania. I mean, I have no, honestly, the better question is, what do you do with Roman now at WrestleMania? You can't insert him unless you want to sneak him into Goldberg and Lesnar somehow. You could. It's definitely, it's not without the realm of possibility they could do that. But outside of that, though, Triple H is busy with Seth, if that eventually takes place. Does Samoa Joe get in a match with Roman? Do they do some kind of an interpromotional match with Roman since he's the guy, he's the big dog? Is he
I would really, and I was going to say this anyway, but it even makes more sense piggybacking off what you just said. First of all, just to throw this out there, what you said about how it doesn't hurt a guy and all of his previous build-up is for naught. That's true in almost every other case, except when you're building a monster like this. And you say a loss doesn't hurt. It does when you're building a monster like this. And the analogy is, if you spent all this time building up a superhero, and then you turn on the news and you see that when he wasn't being a superhero, he was robbing a bank, then he becomes a bad guy. That tarnishes everything he'd done for the year before being a superhero.
I guess. I mean, I feel like if he had...
To me, I would just love a way, and I'm not sure how it would work. I don't know how you could do it. I'm sure if I had time to sit and think about it, I could come up with an interesting way. But and it may also be because he was going against Roman Reigns, and everybody lives to boo Roman Reigns right now.
The Yaboos.
Yeah.
It would be awesome, at least for me, maybe my fandom. It would be awesome to see Braun as the good guy monster. The
good guy monster.
People want to cheer him. People like him. I mean, they like what they're seeing. They want to cheer what they like. They like what they're seeing. If he could be somehow the baby face in a program with Samoa Joe, how they would do it, I don't know. But man, that'd be interesting as fuck to watch.
Goosey brought up really quick Undertaker, which I kind of honestly forgot about because did Undertaker look bad at the Rumble? I mean, just terrible.
And they did this again with Undertaker, and then another WWE storyline. I guess we're just supposed to forget because he came out and said that if the SmackDown brand lost, that he was going to take out his frustrations on the SmackDown brand, and that all this that was the whole reason that whole episode existed. Where Foley was, or not Foley, but they were talking about they were going to get the Undertaker on TV, and then he actually showed up, and he said if they lost, there was going to be ramifications, and he was going to kick their ass or something. I don't know, but then it was like, oh, that's over. I guess that was just for a rating spike to get Undertaker on TV. I don't know. But now what's he going to do for Mania?
And now he's going to show up on Raw. So. Supposedly tomorrow night he's going to be on Raw, so that's probably when they're going to start the Roman thing. I honestly legitimately forgot about it. That's how much I tried to put the Undertaker thing out of my head. Just because
that's what you do is it's going to be Undertaker Roman. I mean, it was right there at the Rumble. Roman eliminated Undertaker.
Yeah, so he'll be
I'd forgotten about that shit. Yeah.
Well, I did too.
And number two, what do you do with Braun? There's your cross promotional match.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you do. Who do you take from SmackDown? Oh, who the hell cares? Does it really matter? AJ Styles? Oh, what?
Oh. Good. Oh. But he's probably gonna do something with Shane.
No, but there's rumors with him doing something with Shane McMahon, and I can absolutely see that.
I know.
So,
not super pumped about that one either. But
see, Roman's in a place like I was talking about Finn earlier. I at this point can't see what they could do with him.
Yeah.
That I would be interested in. Not that they can't find something for him to do, but that would make me interested. I'd be like, ugh.
So Braun and Roman was a big positive for you tonight, Douglas.
Oh, absolutely. That's the reason you watch the pay-per-view.
Okay.
That match was great. And I still have on my DVR the Braun Strowman Big Show match from 2 weeks ago.
I didn't see that. You were raving about it. Should that be my homework then?
I am telling it right now, and I mean, I have been watching this stuff for, Lord, 30 years. I've been watching this on TV as a kid when I was 6 years old to here I am now. And I'll tell you right now, that is the greatest televised pro wrestling match I have ever seen.
Really?
Seriously.
Did you see it, Trey?
Strowman Big Show was a wonder to behold.
Did you catch that, Trey?
Yeah, I did. And to me, I not jumping the gun, but the thing that I took away from the pay-per-view that I enjoyed, because now that I'm out of the game and I don't have to do what you guys do all the time with covering this, to me it's all about what did I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What did I like? And it's little things. Like, one of my favorite things that I never in a million years thought would make me smile is Cesaro and Sheamus's intro.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. I think it's great, and it gives me goosebumps every time they do it. Tonight, something I never thought I'd say going into this pay-per-view was I enjoyed the shit out of Big Show getting the win over Rusev.
Handsome Rusev? Oh.
Because I never saw that coming.
Oh, yeah. Nah, neither did
I never saw that coming. And the reason why I think it was good for me, and maybe this has nothing to do with it, maybe I'm just an old emotional dipshit now, but it was almost like the WWE rewarding him for the transformation of his body and physical well-being recently. It was like saying, now you look the part, now you've worked real hard, you've gotten in this amazing shape, you look great, and they gave him a good big win, because that was a big win to me. Beating Rusev like that, to me, that's a big win. And Show doesn't have a lot of those over the last couple of years. He's gotten to be that guy that when his music hits, you're like, oh, who's he losing to tonight? It really has. Mark Henry's the same way. But, I mean, to see Big Show get that win tonight was probably one of the more enjoyable moments of the whole show for me.
I was pleasantly surprised. We're talking about positive stuff. I was pleasantly surprised with Neville and Jack Gallagher, more so because I've taken some shots at the cruiserweight stuff on our show, just because it just seems like a lot of dudes with no background flipping around doing stuff, and I already had my 205 live rant, so I don't need to do that again. But I was surprised at the physicality between those two guys, and there was obviously some flippy stuff in there, but a lot of the suplex stuff that Neville did, like that one where Jack literally got dropped on his head, that was kind of scary. And just like the simple nature of the red arrow, where he hit the red arrow and then flipped up off the red arrow because of the impact of what he was trying to do, I thought that was cool. And then, I forgot to mention Austin Aries, Trey, when we were talking about former TNA guys with his company now. He gets his own, video package on a WWE pay-per-view. It's just, again, it's very, very surreal from where we used to, I just remember standing in that, what was the Ale House in Orlando? And we went to Unbreakable, and Aries had maybe had a couple matches at that point in TNA, not very many. But he was very new to you. He was very new to JSK. I had watched some of his stuff for about a year in Ring of Honor, but it's just weird to see him start there and progress to where. And he's honestly very, very talented when it comes to commentary. That's obviously something that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like how Corey Graves just transitioned so beautifully into the role from his wrestler role. So obviously,
during the pre-show, he was ungodly hilarious.
Who was
he was. Austin Aries.
Oh, okay.
They had a little tag team cruiserweight match going on before the show started, and the funniest thing was after the pin happens and the match is over, Austin's go "Can I go now?" And Mike goes, "Yes, you can go. Yes. You can go now." And he goes, "Ha ha! Here comes Byron. You guys have fun."
Always has a banana.
He might be the greatest man that's ever lived, because that dude, for some reason, every time I'm around him, he gets me to buy his shit. The last time I was with Austin Aries, I was buying him Taco Bell.
He's talented at that. Although I'm surprised he ate Taco Bell because he's a vegan.
He has a Jedi mind trick for fucking making you do shit you don't want to do, apparently.
Always has a banana in his pocket.
The last time I saw him was when I picked him and Storm up at their hotel here in Tulsa for a TNA show.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And the only thing that was open, and it was Zima Ion too, but the four of us went to the Taco Bell right off by the airport because it was the only thing open, after the show.
It tends to be the only thing open that late at night.
And I was like, but talking has never been a problem for Austin.
No, not at all. He's very talented. Torqueman79 in the chat said, I think they're praying Aries can make that show interesting, which is not totally wrong because I thought they did a good job with Neville as like the king of the cruiserweights and doing the State of the Union addresses and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
it just bores the shit out of me.
It's not a good show. Yeah, it's not a good show.
When I see the purple lights come on the fucking Raw and all this,
like, oh boy. Yeah, boy.
But it pays to have someone like Gallagher who can flop like a fish like he does.
He does.
Okay, I think that's the only reason that match was, able to stomach was because someone was actually selling and looking like they were getting hurt. Okay, and also, by God, just him slamming his head into someone's sternum just makes me happy. I don't care.
He creeps me out. I don't know why, but he gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies.
Neville does?
No, Gallagher.
Gallagher does. Why is the mustache? He intimidated?
I don't know. He annoys the shit out of me. I don't know why. I just can't watch it. I can't.
He's a gentleman.
Tried a couple times, and I'm like, oh, it's purple. Fast forward.
He's a gentleman. How dare you?
But he's actually the only one on that roster that actually has a character.
It's very true. Nobody else.
Which is true, yeah.
I mean, outside of Neville kind of being angry British dude, there's not a lot of characters on that brand.
And I know that Akira Tozawa doesn't even know his own language.
Yeah. He doesn't speak.
He just yells.
He just yells very loudly.
Yeah, that's all he does. But he gets the crowd pumped.
Oh boy.
That's what
Tune in to 205 Live, everybody. It's so exciting. I also thought
how was go ahead, I was gonna ask a question.
No, go ahead. You can ask a question.
I excuse me. I was talking to you off the air about having some microphone issues. And I think when I was trying to get all that fixed was during Bailey and Charlotte. How did that go? Because I just saw the very end.
We've had this conversation a couple times, Doug, where Bailey just gets a little nervous, and she wasn't overly. She was very nervous at the Rumble. I don't know if you saw that match, Trey, back in January inside the Alamo Dome. She got very nervous. Tonight she tried this weird springboard off the bottom rope and then hit Charlotte in the corner.
While Charlotte was in a tree of woe.
Yeah, and she missed the first one, so she did the shit. So she tried it again, and she I think maybe her finger touched Charlotte on the second one, and then you could just see the look on her face where she was just like, oh shit.
Then she just slung her down on the ground and dropped an elbow on her maybe 2 times.
Is it safe to say, and this is just my observation, again, not somebody that has to pay extreme attention because I cover this anymore, but is it safe to say, and this is my opinion, that Bailey's stock has dropped a shit ton, even though she's the champion right now, so that's hard to say, but it seems to me like since she's been on Raw, most of her promos feel flubbed or rushed.
Yeah.
When she's talking in the ring, I get that cringe. I feel bad for her feeling.
But I get that with Sasha though too. I think Sasha stinks at promos. I mean,
yes and no, but I get it more for Bailey than I do Sasha.
Well, I think the Bailey thing was, and it's a little akin to when Samoa Joe was super hot in TNA, and they waited. And then they waited a little bit more, and they went, we're not sure yet, Trey. We're going to wait. Okay, let's do it. And then by the time they did it, everyone's like, okay. And Bailey had such a unique character in NXT, and she was so popular, and they were showing the little girls dressed like her, and there was that connection with the fans. And I think they attempted to do something similar with showing her, with her poem she wrote about being a star, and I liked, the heel Charlotte, like she's just a fan. She doesn't belong here. She's not even an athlete. But, I guess what's strange to me is that Sasha Banks is her friend on television, but then will be really, really mean to her on television as well. But yet Bailey will still want to be friends with her, and it's like she's constantly wanting acceptance from the Sasha character. And then Sasha will interfere in her matches now because it's the right thing to do, even though Dana Brooke wasn't out there to help Charlotte. but damn it, it's the right thing to do. I honestly thought Sasha was going to go full heel tonight after Bayley won.
I did too.
And she was
when Bayley was holding up the title, I thought Sasha was going to get from behind.
She was kind of like dropping her arms. I'm like, oh, here comes the clothesline, or here comes and then nothing happened, obviously. So I don't know if they're going to tease something maybe for Mania. With those, it's obviously those three are going to have some kind of a triple threat.
You got 5 weeks to build that. Come on now, you're not gonna do that turn tonight and have to wait 5 weeks. And you're talking about you have a hard time listening to the two of them on the mic. I mean, can you go 5 weeks straight of listening to two 8th graders standing up there for a school play like they do? Seriously, that's what it's like. It's like watching kids on a school play. It is cringeworthy.
I would expect the Sasha turn to probably happen at Mania. In my opinion, maybe. But and we were talking about Strowman and Roman, or it was just
burden.
To me, it's the same thing that happened tonight with Sasha and Nia Jax. Why the fuck did they let Sasha win that match?
I think to keep because Nia was just destroying everybody, so they want to keep that.
She should.
They kind of want to keep that going, I think. And I guess the weird thing about tonight was so many people were hung up on, and Sasha addressed this. It was a report I put up on Wrestleview today. She got interviewed by the Mirror in the UK, where someone says, "What do you think about people, basically describing the women's title scene on Raw the last 4 or 5 months or even longer as a hot potato?" And she's like, well, who cares, because even if people complain, they're still going to watch. But there was this big like hoopla tonight about Charlotte always wins on pay-per-view. She has this streak, and then Bayley beats her with a belly-to-belly suplex, and how dare they do that? But then if Charlotte had won the title, people are going, well, see, I told you. I knew she was going to win again. So it was just very like, damned if you do, damned if you don't tonight. Where either result,
where you get to the place where you can't please. It's like early wrestling radio days. You figure out early on that you can't please everybody. Fuck them. Let's just do what we're gonna do anyway.
Exactly. But
I mean, as far as Nia Jax goes, though, I mean, I say the same thing about her I say about Strowman, and the fact that both of them should have won tonight, because their momentum was so huge going into these matches, and it made so much more sense to me. But that's why I'm sitting here at home and they're getting paid to do the booking. But to me, it just made way too much sense to keep them strong and to keep them going. I mean, one of the best parts, and I'm not a big fan of Nia's promo work, but when she said, I'm going to destroy your friend tonight, and then I'm coming for that. That's your Mania match.
Mm-hmm.
I understand Sasha's been hurt and back and forth and in the mix and out of the mix and all this, blah, 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 but she's still a player. She's a very big player in that women's division. And if they would have done what they teased, what they set up, if Nia Jax would have actually fucking destroyed Sasha tonight, and then after the match, the bell rings, she continues to destroy her, and even have one of those deals where Bayley comes out and Nia's like, hey, whoa. You get any closer to the ring and I'm going to rip her arm off, or I'm going to rip her head off. Then now with Bayley beating Charlotte, you've got a great opportunity to have Nia Jax versus Bayley at Mania. And that makes a women's division match interesting to me when I normally could care less.
I'm seeing a lot of feedback, Doug, to people saying, why have Bayley, win a match dirty as a babyface? Like there was a lot of like I saw my buddy Jonathan Snowden on Twitter was like, oh, and he doesn't watch wrestling frequently, and he's like, oh, the babyfaces are cheating now. Like what's like, I don't get it. Like there was some definite confusion. Well, I mean,
you just earlier described the problems within the ethos of these two characters, of Sasha and Bayley. I mean, you just perfectly described earlier, the characters of the naivete, childlike wonder that is Bayley, and the, hard, blunt as nails, but I'm still your friend character that Sasha is. That's why that happened. Okay. It's called character development, people. Yeah. I mean, try it. think about it a little bit. I mean, this is more than just a program where there's wins and losses. Okay,
No,
I know that's hard to grasp.
There's a win and a loss, Doug. It's a sport.
Again, Sasha is a product of NXT popularity too, because she came up, everybody wanted her up, she came up. Sasha is much better off as a bad guy, way more better as a cocky bad guy, to me. But the fact the fans cheered the shit out of her because they loved her in NXT, so now she's on the main roster, she's a babyface now, And it just doesn't work to me. It doesn't work at all, especially between her and Bayley, because it's so opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, the big thing about the Sasha character in NXT was that the reason that they really, really cheered for her was because she won her first title as a heel. Yeah. Okay, and she had that kind of heel character that was kind of a tweener, was what it was in NXT. But then as she progressed through the NXT wheelhouse and had her big matches with Bayley, the heel persona was shed. She was now a pure tweener. There are reasons you could boo her and you could cheer her, but more focused were the creative writing staff going like, well, they're cheering for her for a reason. We got to keep them cheering for her, because we don't want them cheering the heels because we are not back in 1997 again. So that's what they did, and that's the way it's going to be. Now, how do you get her to be a heel? Well, you have her turn on Bayley, of course, but you can't, and I said it before, you can't do that tonight. Mm-hmm. You can't do it this soon, okay? Just because, again, I cannot trust these women for 5 straight Mondays to give me promos to keep me enthused. There is no way in hell that I'm going to let these two do their version of Waiting for Godot on that stage. That is not going to happen. They'll do the turn probably about 2 weeks before WrestleMania is what they'll do and build up to it. Now, whether this will be a triple threat involving Charlotte, it could be a 4-way with Nia in the mix. God, that wouldn't shock me if we just had a 4-way. That just would not shock me at all, because all 4 of them have pretty good characters developed right now between all 4 of them, to make it kind of compelling. Okay, make it elimination style match, please. Just for the love of God, do that for me. Okay, Nia comes out there. I can beat all of you girls with one hand tied behind my back. I've done it before. Charlotte, it's Sunday. I'm gonna win. It happens all the time. Okay, Sasha, I don't like any of you anymore, and I've got 4 big black guys driving me over in an SUV. And Bayley, I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah,
I got all the pictures to prove it.
I have wacky inflatable men.
Yeah, and so I mean the characters are there. It's intriguing, and I have a lot more faith in 4 girls building up a match in 5 weeks' time than I have 2 in 5 weeks' time.
Which is what we've been treated to a lot of lately, is the 2-match scenario. Quick check of the poll. It hasn't really changed much. It's still heavy thumbs down for the show tonight. So I'm not like totally in disagreement, because there was a weird lull. I mean, they started pretty strong with the Samoa Joe Sami Zayn match. I did kind of enjoy that. The tag match was okay. I still think people are warming up to Anderson and Gallows. I know Doug hates Anderson and Gallows right now.
They scream 1988.
But even
what they remind me of? They remind me of a created character in the game where you put way too many fucking logos and shit.
Yeah.
Tone that shit down, man. They look like fucking walking NASCARs coming out to the fucking ring. It's like, how much? The only reason they don't have more shit on their shit is because they ain't got any room for more shit.
Yeah, it's a little caw-ish.
They look like the badass characters you would make in the video game if you were 14 years old and it was 1994.
I guess I have to remember, like, I watched a lot of their Japan stuff and they were so good there, but obviously they're going to stand out because they're like the only white dudes in New Japan. So with like the whole Bullet Club's the only like white dudes, so they're going to like naturally stand out when they're in there with other Japanese guys. But it's like they were awesome there. They had great matches there, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just not translating well in WWE land. But yeah, there was that weird lull after Sasha and Nia. There was just that Jinder Mahal, Cesaro, and Rusev.
That served no purpose whatsoever.
they're really pushing this breakup and that they're pissed at each other. And the New Day came out and said skeet, 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 skeet many times. I'm not sure if Vince knows what that means. So
Big E didn't get his Ritalin filled.
He sure did, man.
Big E looked like those fucking ice cream bars were toxic and he was having a reaction.
There was a lot of yellow number 9 in those things.
There's a lot of people feeling that New Day's kind of hitting the ceiling right now as an act, and now they're going to host WrestleMania. And it felt like WrestleMania time last year. There was like they were really on that upswing, and then now they're just like, oh boy, okay, might be time to call it a day.
I blame Titus O'Neil.
Titus O'Neil for that. Not a fan.
Ever since they tried doing a program with him that lasted about 3 weeks, oh god, it was bad. It was really, really bad. They jumped this shark with a 30-foot ramp and streamers behind him. This is bad. This is really, really bad.
That lull in the middle to me almost felt like, now that we know what we know, that they had back timed the Goldberg match, and they were like, okay, we're going to be way short.
Pretty much,
because our main event's only X amount of time. We got to put some shit out there to stall, and that's what they went with.
That's pretty much how it went down.
We can't put the little critters out there. They'll only last 5 minutes.
Exactly, they'll get sleepy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the New Day promo served zero purpose.
I don't know why they did. Just maybe because they're selling ice cream. Did they call it? Is it Pepe? What was the
New Day Pops?
New Day Pops. I thought it said New Day Pepe. I'm like,
Day Pops.
Okay.
Day Pops.
I figured as much. So question to both of you, and I felt like I've asked this question many times over the last 10 years. We are now seeing an official, like this is an actual reboot of TNA to Impact Wrestling. Dixie Carter gone. Anthem Sports Entertainment, which owns the Fight Network, now owns this company. They have brought back Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett in turn has brought back Dutch Mantell for creative. They've brought in Bruce Pritchard because of the popularity of his podcast in recent months, so they know there's a way to maybe promote through that. Apparently Jeff Jarrett reached out to Vince Russo and asked for his podcast numbers, and they weren't as good as Bruce Pritchard, so they went with Bruce Pritchard instead. So I would have been a little nervous about having Vince Russo back on television again after the train wreck of his last run there, but his secret one that Dixie tried to keep secret from Spike TV, and they eventually found out because she accidentally sent an email incorrectly. But there's a genuine reboot. I mean, they've already taped a lot of this because that's kind of the situation they're in right now. And they've again revamped the logo again, but it had a very Global Force Wrestling feel. Have you seen it? But it's essentially going back to the old Jeff Jarrett regime that we're used to back in the 2002 to, what would you say, Trey, about 2009 is when all the shit went down when Jeff's wife passed away, and then he got with Karen Angle, who then left Kurt, and then Jeff was ushered out, and then a lot of Jeff's people were shown the door, but
like sands through the hourglass.
Pretty much,
so are the days of our lives.
It's a soap opera.
It's just weird to me because they've got number one. Here's how I look at things. Here's how I would, and a lot of people in the sports world are the same way. When you get rid of a general manager and you bring in a new general manager, that's the guy that runs the teams day to day, hires the coaches, signs the players, does the draft picks. He is the be all end all of your football team, one notch below the owner. Which doesn't have anything to do with Dallas because Jerry Jones is all one and the same, basically. But for most other teams, the way you judge the guy coming in is by the first moves that he makes. Okay. Let's take, for instance, something that's happened recently in the sports world with the LA Lakers. They got rid of the Buss brothers and they brought in Magic Johnson as the basically overall team advisor. He does everything. He's not technically the GM, I don't think, but he's making a lot of the decisions. And they did that right before the trade deadline. And he made some moves that were like, really? Why would you do that? So you question the new regime by the first couple moves they make. With that being said, they bring in this new regime of people making decisions now that Dixie is exit stage left. one of the first things they do is fuck up the Hardys, which is the most important, most entertaining, most talked about storyline, wrestler tandem, anything on your brand. They are a self-promoting juggernaut. I mean, if you're going to go so far as to choose between podcast hosts on their numbers and their viewership, it's because you're interested in what they can do for exposure to your company. Nothing beats what the Hardys do right now in that aspect. Matt Hardy is, I never thought I'd say this, but the dude actually is kind of a genius. He knows what he's doing. There were many years where I thought he was just his cheese had slid off his cracker in real life, but he really is good at what he does. I'll give you an example. They're in the news this weekend because of what they did at Ring of Honor, and the fact that they left TNA officially, went to Ring of Honor, beat the Young Bucks, took the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Immediately following the match with Gallows and Anderson tonight, Matt Hardy tweets out, "We took the titles from the club's Bucks of Youth. We see your tag titles, Gallows and Anderson," basically. Does that mean there's even a possibility that the Hardys are going to go to the WWE? Don't know. But guess what? It's going to hit every website and every news website. People are going to talk about that tweet and that they did that. They said that to the WWE Tag Champs. You know, and so to get back to what I was saying, how does TNA let the contract talks between TNA, or Impact Wrestling now rather, how does Impact Wrestling let the talks go so south and the negotiations go so south that those two guys would rather walk and go somewhere else with these amazing characters, this juggernaut of a promotions department that they've made for themselves with their tweets and the stupid shit they do that always seems to work? They are a cat. The Hardys seem to land on their feet. Just when you think they're falling from a 50-story building and there's no chance that this will make any sense or work, they land on their fucking feet every time. How does TNA, or how does Impact Wrestling rather, let that go?
I'll tell you why. The first thing they did was when they offered them new contracts, apparently that there was terms agreed to, and then those terms were changed to then say, by the way, all those independent promotions you're booking, we're going to take 10% whatever you make. And they went, what?
No. But again, that falls on my question. How are they so stupid that their first major move as the new powers that be for Impact Wrestling, how do you let yourselves fuck that up?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I don't know if you, and Doug, I don't know, but your interest level in TNA at this point is posting the same meme every time we post something on the.
It's the same one, but it's different characters.
That's true. You do make the effort to change it.
Well, my interest, I can't even tell you the last time I watched TNA, but now my interest is to see what they'll fuck up next.
Well, that too, but I had a question for both of you about this Thursday, if you had any intentions of watching this reboot on Pop TV. But to answer your question, Trey, how do they fuck this up? Well, I'll tell you one thing that I kept continuing to read, and I sent a couple texts, and the text that was sent back to me kind of seemed to confirm this, is that the Jeff Jarrett show's back in town, Trey, and if you don't want to play ball, then there's the door, regardless of who you are. This happened with Matt Hardy. This happened with Jeff Hardy. They made a genuine ploy to keep Drew Galloway and actually put him in a pretty high-power position, but because they kind of didn't show a real sense of urgency, he left. Apparently they made a play to get Bubba Ray Dudley in for the first taping back. Mm-hmm. The role that Alberto Del Rio, or now Alberto El Patron now is his new name. Well, he used that in Mexico. But El Patron came in, and they did you could read the spoilers if you want to find out what they did with him. But that was supposed to be the role that Bully Ray was going to get. And he got very close, and then that didn't work out. So there's these plays and these things they're doing. They're literally doing it on television. They're having Josh Matthews play this ultimate heel role where he's fighting with Josh Matthews, and they're having this play out on television. They're having Bruce Pritchard walk out. I think he does it on the show this coming Thursday. So does Dutch Mantell. Dutch comes out in his Zeb Coulter cart, just straight off WWE television, except his name isn't Zeb Coulter now, and cuts this long-winded promo. I haven't seen the promo. I'm gonna watch it, obviously, about how good this place used to be, about how Kevin Nash and Christian and AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Bobby Roode, all these guys were here, and they bailed because of bad leadership. And then Bruce Pritchard does something similar and says, TNA's dead. This is new management. It's Impact Wrestling. We're moving forward. There's going to be new graphics. They changed the stage up a little bit. There's a giant influx of Global Force Wrestling talent. You remember that Global Force Wrestling thing that Jeff Jarrett tried, and he taped a bunch of television, and we still haven't seen it. It's been taped almost for 2 years now. All these people with Global Force Wrestling titles are showing up now at these tapings, and they're going to be on TV. So I don't know, but it sounds, Trey, to answer what you were asking, it sounds like the Jeff Jarrett show is in effect, because at first the thought was, oh, he's just going to be a consultant. I don't think so. He's traveling the world with this Anthem, this Ed Nordholm guy who's with Anthem, and he's pretty much effectively back in charge. This was essentially what he tried to do a couple years ago with Toby Keith, was try to come back in, repurchase it, and get Dixie out of the way. And Dixie just didn't allow it, and now Dixie's just totally out of the picture. Now she's being branded as a consultant, but she's not doing anything really of importance anymore. So it's the Jeff Jarrett show, and that's why I was intrigued to see if, again, there's been so many reboots and so many changes, and we got a new logo, Trey, but yeah, but at least they're trying to drop the TNA thing, because that was a confusing thing. That was back to like 2012 when they rebranded Impact Wrestling with the blue, and then. But it was still TNA though. Like it was very confusing. But I don't know if that has any interest level for you, Doug, or you, Trey, to watch the show this Thursday. But Doug's shaking his head, nope.
Well, I'm not gonna make it a point to make sure I'm home in time to watch. I'll check out what is said. I keep up with what's being said, and like I said, the reading of how fucking how amazingly they can fuck things up without fail has intrigued me the last year or so. And the fact they keep going,
keep on trucking.
To me, it could be a too little too late thing. Like, I like what they're saying. I like what Dutch said. I like what Bruce said. I like knowing that Jeff Jarrett's back in charge, because when he was in charge the first time, I enjoyed the shit out of it. I watched the shit out of it. But I also watched a lot more wrestling and had reason to. Now, I don't, and I don't. I hope that it goes well for them, but, after so many tries, after so many attempts, you just finally go, I doubt it happens. I give up. I doubt they do anything worthwhile. And I think bringing in Alberto Del Rio is a good thing for them. It would have been better had it been Bully Ray, because that was, the TNA. He was a TNA guy. To me, Del Rio just smells of another WWE release coming to get a paycheck. What's Paige's wife going to do? I don't know.
What's Paige's wife? Paige's husband, you mean?
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Same thing, right? Same thing. So no interest, Doug, right?
You'll have to pardon me. I just brought up on my phone what. First off, you said it's on Pop TV.
Yeah, that's on Pop TV.
I'm just figuring out. Okay, so where is it on my Dish Network thing? Well, first off, it's not in HD.
Yeah, that stinks.
It's only an SD. So okay, that's big props right there.
Cool.
Their current programming that I'm looking at is Big Brother After Dark, Entertainment Tonight. Let me see. The Queens of Drama, which is following soap opera stars and real life drama.
That 70s show too. Don't forget that.
Well, I'm talking about their new program.
Oh, okay, new content.
Not the stuff that's
Yeah.
No. Rock This Boat, New Kids on the Block, a reality show starring members of New Kids on the Block. Sing It On. It's an hour-long docu-reality series about college a cappella. And then there's Impact Wrestling right there on the very bottom.
And I think what you're illustrating right now is kind of what the because if you you're very aware of this. The management in place now did not negotiate the Pop TV deal, and I think they're very
Nope.
The guy who owns Anthem did this really long interview, and he He didn't overtly say, I think Pop TV sucks, but if you read how he responded to just, someone saying, well, you're on Pop TV that's not in a lot of homes, he goes, well, we're going to be doing a lot of redistribution as the year progresses. So yes, we're in March right now, but I'm getting the vibe that come at the end of 2017, they may not be on Pop TV. It could even be faster. There was a report that came out tonight during the pay-per-view that they had signed a new TV deal with Spike TV in the UK, which is a totally different entity than the Spike TV in the United States, but that Kevin Kay from Spike had some kind of discussion with Jeff Jarrett about, maybe possibly bringing that show back to Spike TV, which they were ushered out the door rather quickly many, many years ago after the whole debacle. Trey and I did a show like when they signed with Destination America, and we were both like, what? And we were looking at we were doing essentially the same thing Doug's doing, where we were like, okay, there's a show about barbecuing and a show about ghosts, and then they fucked up the Bigfoot. Destination America thing. Yeah, Bigfoot.
God, the Destination America thing was their entire programming either had the words truck, ghost, or barbecue in it.
Yeah, that's it. It was a terrible network.
I'm a big fan of all three of those things, but
not a good network for wrestling though. That's the problem. So it's just, yeah. We'll. I mean, I'm gonna check it out. I DVR the show through the PlayStation View program that I use now, and it actually gets Pop TV surprisingly. So I'm gonna watch the DVR. I'm not gonna sit there like you guys, like you said you were gonna.
I'm sure Impact Wrestling comes on after the 2013 episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful.
Maybe. Actually, they do. I do. I've seen The Bold and the Beautiful on before that show. It's exciting. By the way, Hunter just sent me a text just now. He said, so Goldberg's the champion. Inspiring younger talents like Kirk Douglas is done everywhere. So, yeah, Hunter fucking hates wrestling right now. So that's all he needs, man, is just some ammo of Goldberg becoming the champion in 2017. And Hunter's balls deep in mixed martial arts right now, and I don't blame him because it's can be better at times than modern day wrestling.
He better be balls deep in baseball right about now.
Well, I'm sure he is because that's
he sure is. Yes, he is.
That's his industry. That's his bread and butter. That's his baby. So I take it from both of you that there's a lack of enthusiasm because of prior mistakes from that company. No interest in the.
Yeah, that's it. Here's the thing. There's two things that make this interesting to me. One, can they keep from fucking up all the time? And two, also on the same side of that, can they make it work? I mean, it's sad that they waited. It's sad that it had to take this long to get Dixie out of the way and to get Jeff Jarrett and the right group of people back. Because if you go back to all the past, conversations we had back in its heyday, we talked a lot about Jeff having his people in place. Borash is one of his people. Dutch is one of his people. I never saw the Bruce Pritchard thing coming. I won't even pretend to take any credit for that. But, Scott D'Amore, one of Jarrett's big people.
That's one I forgot to say.
Those guys work really good together. It'll be interesting to see if they can make it work. But the problem they have now is they've got a gun. They've got a real fancy pistol, but they don't have any bullets.
Yeah. Well,
and that gun is shaped like a bird. Have you seen their logo?
They changed it. They changed it again, Doug. Have you seen it? I'll put it up.
Oh, they did? Oh, okay.
I'll put it up on the...
Tune in for Angry Birds Wrestling.
I'll put it up on the screen. I'll show you the new logo if you haven't seen it. So when I saw it, they announced this Spike TV UK deal, which was a little misleading because people were like, they're going back to Spike TV. And it's like, no. There's a UK Spike TV. Yes. But you can see the logo right. Let's see. I'll put it up on the screen right here.
Let's be honest. Maybe it's me, but I don't think Spike TV US is even a real big upgrade for them.
It's not really. I mean, they were there for a long time. They were there when the UFC was a part of it, and now the UFC has gone, and Bellator is kind of the baby of Spike. But outside of Bellator, there's not much else going on Spike these days.
I can't tell you the last time I even watched Spike TV, heard the name Spike TV, thought I want to see something that's on Spike TV.
And they're going to reboot Spike as the Paramount Pictures Network because it's owned by that Paramount company. So I don't know what that's going to be. But so TNA would be, not TNA, Impact would be a part of that if that eventually
Impact
takes place.
Needs to get a new channel, but a real channel.
Yeah.
Something that's complementary to USA, like maybe a TNT or something like that.
Maybe make that.
They need to get off television.
Just get off television, period.
They need to be just on the internet.
Like Netflix.
Well, I thought that too. I thought their biggest, and that's how I've followed what little bit I have followed.
Yeah.
It's just watching shit on the internet.
Well, it's weird. I had that conversation with Jeff Jarrett in person, and I don't think I'm breaking any ground here when I say this. I think I talked about it when I interviewed him was, this is a different time period now. The WWE Network it kind of said, hey, you don't have to. I mean, yeah, you still want to get television contracts. You want to make money off that. But, effectively, I mean, you could get a Netflix deal or a Hulu deal or a CISO deal.
You'd like to make your own revenue from advertising, right?
Correct.
Here's what they should do. And maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. There's a good chance of that. But, I mean, here's what I would do if it were me and I was running that shit show. You've got a TV contract, albeit Pop TV, but you got one, and you've got a nightly televised, a weekly televised product. You got that. Why not do a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night? Let's say Wednesday night, because there's nothing on Wednesday night. Do a Wednesday night, internet-only show. And then take those numbers and cross-reference them to your Pop TV show and you either see if it's possible or you see if it's better, you see if it's worse, but it gives you something to gauge off of, and it's not going to hurt anything to do that.
Oh, I see.
And then you get an idea of, can we survive on the internet?
Sure. Remember they tried that for a while in 2005, and they sort of did it, but that was pre...
2005 was a different time than 2017. There wasn't a WWE network. People weren't primed to go to their computer to watch TV. Do you realize I have Dish Network? I've got a box sitting right here in my room that is a DVR box. But when I watch The Flash, when I watch Supergirl, when I watch Raw and SmackDown, when I watch them, the only thing I watch on the actual TV through my DVR box is The Walking Dead and Talking Dead.
Yeah.
Everything else I watch off the internet because I have two screens. That way I can watch what's on the internet, and I can also still do graphic design, Twitter, Facebook, fantasy shit.
That's how a lot of people watch.
So that I can do two things at once and get no commercials.
No, that's how a lot of people watch, TV now. Is they don't watch. I have a PlayStation service that gives me streaming TV, but yeah, I don't have cable or satellite anymore. I dropped it. I'm on my second year now without it, and I've survived fine. So I agree. I think that'd be a kind of cool way to test the waters and see if. I think they just don't want that stigma of like, oh, they're only on the internet. But at the same time, it's like, well, it's fucking 2017. Like, there's a lot of people only on. Like, there's incredibly popular podcasts. There's people that are Twitch streamers that are incredibly popular. There's people that have YouTube channels that are incredibly. It's like. You got to kind of...
There are Twitch streams that have gotten more viewers than your television show.
Exactly.
I guarantee you, I would put my paycheck on it that Co-Carnage makes more money a year streaming on Twitch, Lyric makes more money a year streaming on Twitch than the people at Pop TV or TNA or Impact, whatever, make as a whole on that televised weekly show.
Weekly League Championship Series of League of Legends gets more viewers than your show does.
You got to evolve. And it's so sad to look at the cable top 150 and they're like barely cracking the 130, 140, and it's not happening. So, and again, that was a management, a prior management team that put that Pop TV deal together, so you can't
well, they took what they could get.
Exactly.
Pop TV was a life raft or a life jacket.
Oh yeah, because
they were in the water about to drown.
Yep.
So they took the first thing. It's like fucking a fat girl. They went with the first thing that would give them a little. So it may not be the pussy they want, but it was all they were going to get. So
they got some. Exactly. Oh, just
but they can at least say they got some. That's
Leave it to Trey. Leave it to Trey to do that analogy. I love it. That's great.
But it's true. And here's the thing. Here's where the big payoff really is in the eyes of the viewers and the eyes of the wrestling fans and guys like me and guys like you. If it's a severely uphill climb right now. It's an uphill battle. However, if this group can make TNA great again, or if they can get them relevant in any way, get them on a better televised network, or get their internet shit going to where they don't need a network, which I think you do because one hand washes the other. But if this group can make something happen, make a little noise, and do something good with this company, it will be a huge I told you so for them, because people have been saying that for years. Once Dixie had full control and Jeff was gone, that if Jeff was there and that original group were still there, they could make it work. Well, I guess now we're going to find out.
We are.
But if they fail, then it goes back to, well, they can't get up and going. They just can't get out of their own way.
We'll get an answer either way. That's the best part about this. So we'll see how it goes. And it's going to take some time, but we'll see how it progresses. But that's a very accurate way of painting it, because they're gonna make a genuine effort. I thought the brand was pretty much dead at this point, but man, they're gonna try. So give it a shot, I guess.
And it would be it can be done, but you can't keep fucking up. You can't lose guys like Matt and Jeff that are your most popular guys on your product, and the only guys people outside your product are tuning in to see and trying to fucking watch and talk about.
Just sounds like kind of almost a stubborn approach to the business model now. Is like, well, if you want to leave, kind of like what Paul Heyman used to do in ECW.
Yeah, but when you're in the situation that they are in, because they have painted themselves into that corner, you can be a badass all you want and say it's my way or the highway. You don't like it, leave, go fuck yourself. But not when you're in that spot. When you have painted yourself into that corner because you have consistently fucked up at every turn, when you have gotten yourself to the point where you have fucked yourself that many times, you just got to let it go and give in. You just have to. Because now you're trying to relaunch a wrestling program with, I can only think of 2 or 3 people that I know of on that roster.
Yeah, it's a well.
How are you gonna do that?
Wait till the shows start airing in the coming weeks. You're gonna. I literally was looking at the spoiler reports, going like, who? And it's just a lot of Global Force dudes and dudes that on the indie scene that I'm not at. Maybe people that pay attention to indie stuff.
I'll tell you what they're hoping for. And I may be wrong, but I doubt it because it doesn't happen very often. But what they're hoping for is NXT success.
Yes.
They're hoping that by getting rid of all the household names, cutting the big contracts, getting rid of all the money they have to put out, which isn't a dumb idea if you can make it work. But it's just like when NXT caught fire, it was their roster. It was their group.
Yeah.
The only thing that's different is it was under the WWE established umbrella, and Anthem and Impact and Pop, they don't have that.
No, they don't have it at all.
That's like saying, okay, well, I've got a football team. We could be in the Super Bowl. We've got 11 guys on offense, and we've got 11 guys on defense. So do the New England Patriots. Yeah, but they've got Tom Brady. You don't.
No, it's and the Hardys are bailed, Drew's bailed. They got Alberto Del Rio now though, so I guess that's.
Lashley, Del Rio,
EC3.
EC3.
They are making a push with your boy James Storm in the recent tapings I read. They're trying to rekindle that fire after he did that weird DCC thing with Bram and Kingston. So they're getting rid of that.
He hated every fucking minute of that. Let me tell you.
Well, he makes that very apparent at the tapings too. So you'll see that.
Then there's what's the guy's name? I can see his face.
Abyss?
Well, there's Abyss. What about the guy from WWE that was with The Miz? Damian Sandow.
Yeah, he's Aaron Rex now, yeah. He's doing a Gorgeous George. I thought Doug would actually dig that, but Doug wasn't feeling it too much, so I was like, oh, well, I guess wrong on that one, but...
So I mean, there's 5 or 6 guys that I know that I know of. That's about it.
Yeah, there's Robbie E and Jesse Goddard, and there's a couple. There's Decay.
Oh, they're still there.
But they rebooted LAX with some new guys, Homicide and Conan.
I read that.
Which is, I think that's good timing considering the political climate we're in right now. Like that's perfect timing. So do that. That might work, but it's a lot of Global Force Wrestling, dude. So strap in if you have no idea who these people are.
Here's the thing they need to do, man. Because now I'm second guessing myself because of what we just said. But they've got some pieces. Yeah. They've got some pieces, and the one thing that they that they do have in place with Dutch and Bruce and Jeff, and I'll give Borash credit. The guy's come a long way in the business, especially when D'Amore and Borash had the book. Was probably TNA's best. So you've got those pieces in place. Those guys can make chicken salad out of chicken shit, I hope. But the thing about it is just Be who you are. Start slow. Baby steps. Don't try to compete with the WWE on your first day in class. It's not going to happen. If you get too big for your britches, you will fail. If they stay in their little niche and they work on getting a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, they might have a very, 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 very small shot.
They're trying. They're doing new production. I'm putting some shots up of them with EC3, and they're trying. So Kevin Sullivan's
as long as they don't come out and go, we're trying to go live on Mondays at 7 o'clock to compete with the WWE. Because, oh, God.
That was terrible. That was a terrible mistake. Not good. All right. Yeah, Doug just is like, fuck Impact Wrestling.
I've been playing with the same styrofoam peanut for like the past 10 minutes.
I know.
I thought he was going to say styrofoam penis there.
No, I made new eyebrows.
So yeah, they're trying.
You know, I've got a set of golf clubs, and I've been playing at my public course for the past 4 years. You know, well, actually, for the past 12, 13 years. I think I'm ready for the Masters.
Reboot time. Yeah. Reboot. I know they're trying really hard. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just got a new driver. Yeah, I got a new driver over at Dick's. Maybe that'll help.
It's the same thing I used to tell JSK all the time when it was mostly about football, but it works for this too. If you wake up every day and I hit you in the head with a hammer, eventually you get tired of being hit with a hammer. You either put a helmet on or you hit me back. Or you just concede. You go, well, sucks to be me. And TNA has fucked up so many times that even before they fuck up, fans are already going, they're going to fuck up.
Well, they have a bad reputation right now. It's going to take a lot to clean it up. And it's a new regime. It's a new business. It's a new name. I mean, same TV channel, but we'll see if, Anthem's pretty hard behind it.
Doesn't sound like for long it'll be on the same TV channel.
No, it doesn't sound like too much longer, but we'll see how it progresses.
I was about to say, once they lose the rights to As the World Turns, that thing's just going to go downhill.
CBS is going to say,
Jesus Christ.
Peace.
They might as well have Red Foreman come on and take on Eric in the main event on Impact.
Call everybody a dumbass. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
Put a foot in his ass and just go from there.
All right, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Goldberg is a world champion in 2017. Everybody, just as a reminder as we sign off. And I guess the next show we'll be talking about is most likely WrestleMania, unless something dramatically big happens over the course of the next 3-4 weeks. So. We'll talk to you then, because there's just so many podcasts. There's podcasts about how to do podcasts, and there's podcasts by this wrestler who has this wrestler on his podcast, and it's like, oh my God.
Do you remember?
I remember.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yeah,
do you remember? Do you remember when Matt Hardy and Edge and Lita had their thingamajig?
Sure.
And Vince brought Matt back because of the outpour of the internet fan.
Sure.
Do you remember how mad that made me?
I don't recall you getting mad. I just remember you being happy we didn't have Matt on our show because he trolled everybody.
We dodged that bullet.
Yeah, he went on everybody's show.
I got mad because of this point right here.
Why?
The WWE, and we were in talks with WWE back then, if you remember. We were in talks with them about getting interviews again after the WrestleMania Jim Ross, Brock Lesnar debacle that I don't think I've ever really gotten over, but still. We were in talks with WWE about getting more WWE guests, and I was using my connections from the radio station to pull that off. Or my background, not my connections, but my background as a radio person to pull that off. And the replies that I kept getting were basically, just to get right to the point, it was that the WWE didn't care about the internet, and the internet wrestling radio was a shit show. There was, in their opinion, no wrestling radio show, because they weren't called podcasts back then.
No, there was also
it's called internet wrestling radio.
Yeah.
Those of us that did that were being told on the reg by the WWE that we were never good enough and that they didn't trust their people on our show because they didn't want us to ask things that weren't supposed to be asked. Like we were a bunch of fucking idiots that would do shit like that. Now, granted, I'm not saying that there weren't a fuck ton of shows that they were 100% right about. And as controversial at times as I was, and as stupid as I was in my younger days and some of the decisions I made, nobody can ever say that we didn't take every fucking interview very seriously and try to make it the best fucking interview on the internet.
So what you're trying to say
for a wrestler. It just bothered me at the time because they were so anti-internet.
But now they're not.
And how anti-wrestling radio they were on the internet. And I never understood why, because if a person is on FM radio, it makes them better. I was on FM radio.
Well, I think it was just eventually you saw that mindset change, though. I mean, because now all they do is embrace the internet.
But then they started and it's just like when you would reach out to a wrestler, they would say, "Oh, you're on the internet? Fuck you." And now ex-wrestler has his own podcast.
Yeah, I mean, and it's
that shit just it bothered the fuck out of me.
It's definitely hurt to the point where and I've had conversations with Doug about this, where we're like, man, at this point, less seems like more, and because every wrestler's got a podcast and they're bringing other wrestlers on, and some conversations are good, some conversations are mediocre. Even coming on YouTube, this is why I was a little hesitant to come on YouTube, is because everyone's got a YouTube show where they're talking about wrestling. It's like, oh God, it's hard
because time has changed and everything's evolved.
Everyth's evolved,
but I mean,
but
if you're still good at what you do, you can stand out. And to me,
sort of
wrestling podcasts now with these former wrestlers, I don't remember any of it. I stopped listening to them a while back, but I did start listening to them. I listened to them quite a bit. But the conversations were never worth a shit because they couldn't talk about anything.
No, and I was into them for a while, and I've completely backed off 100%. I don't listen to any wrestling podcasts anymore. I'm done.
I mean, I've never listened to Taz. I've never listened to Russo. I've never listened to Bischoff's. I've never listened to Pritchard's. I've listened to Jericho a time or two. I've listened to a lot of Stone Cold's back in the early days when that show first started.
Yeah, and now it's just everyone's got one. It's out. It's overplayed. It's played out, and
it's workers always working.
Yeah, as Doug said earlier today, workers always be working, but
they want a paycheck. They want to stay in the limelight and have a connection with people that make them feel important.
It evolved. I will say they're more responsive to the internet media now than they were before, which I like. But there's a definite shift there though with podcasts. It's just too much. So that's why it's all
about the content you produce, and at the same time the demeanor that you put out forward for your show. Dear Lord, there's got to be, the Lord knows how many wrestling podcasts there are that, like we said before we started the show, do the same damn thing. Okay. They just look at the pieces of the news, bitch about something, look at the show, look over the list of matches and bitch about what they don't like or what little spot they liked. It's the same damn thing. The only way you can stand out is if you do something different, but it can't be different for the sake of doing something different. It has to be different, but with different perspectives and different, analogies and descriptors like we're doing here. Let's go ahead and be a little honest with all of the other podcasts. I think that we have a very extensive vocabulary compared to a lot of other podcasts.
Well, I would agree with that, but
we're probably one of the most educated also. Okay?
Trey Smash.
I don't know. That's why I don't listen to them anymore. I can't.
Funny too,
I never have.
As the Attitude Era evolved into what we have now in wrestling, like I wouldn't do the things that now that if I was doing a show, I wouldn't do the things that I did back when we were doing Wrestling Is Live.
Yeah.
It was more controversial. I was a much angrier person, but I would never do that now.
It's just too different.
I don't think.
It's just very different.
I'm pretty much the same person. I'll still put on a tux and go to an Impact Wrestling show and act like a jackass.
I like it.
Well,
that works out too.
It amazes me though how much it has all evolved.
It's come a long way in 10 years. That's for sure. Absolutely. All right, everybody, we're gonna get the hell out of here. We'll keep you posted. I don't know. Are we feeling a pre-WrestleMania podcast, Doug, or should we just give it a couple weeks and come check in for Mania? I don't know, because
dear God, how many shows are there going to be for post-Mania? Dear God.
There's going to be a lot of post-Mania shows. That makes me nervous, so I'm like, oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, I know a pre-Mania show sounds neat.
A pre-Mania show might feel better than a post one, but at the same time, though, but I don't know. We'll mull some ideas. We'll see what people think. What do you guys think? Let us know.
Send us ideas.
Yeah, tweet us. Facebook us.
I would be interested in a post. I would come on for a post.
I would like a post, but it's like, I don't know. That last year that show went. God,
it's kind of like going to the
11:30.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to the public pool. It's cool on a Wednesday, but on a Friday when there's like 57 fucking kids in the pool, you don't want to be there. Is that what you're getting at?
A little bit.
Yeah, there's way too many warm spots in the pool. On
It's
you know.
It's a little bit. It's just and that too, but it's also going to be a long night though. Outside of just that, like, because last year's WrestleMania was like 6 hours, almost 7, I think. So it was.
And it sucks because you can't say, well, let's be different and do something on a Monday night after Mania and let the smoke settle and the dust clear, because then you got fucking Raw to deal with.
Yeah, that same thing. So I don't know. We'll think of some ideas. We'll hear what people want to say or hear us talk about. We'll field some questions and some ideas. See how it goes.
Because you guys are a hell of a lot more creative than we are.
Sometimes. They can be many times. Many times.
Maybe.
We'll see.
All
right.
Maybe if we recorded it upside down.
Then they'd have to turn their phone up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can reach Trey on the Twitter at Trey on the radio. You can reach Douglas on the Twitter at Doug Wrestleview. Also, we're on Facebook. We're the Trey and Adam Show. But I guess, Trey, at some point we're gonna have to kill that thing because that thing's been dead for a while. We've been doing Wrestleview live shows.
I've thought of that, but I thought, man, to change the name, you'd have to start a whole new page.
Well, no, we can change the name of the group. We don't have to start a whole new page.
Can you?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't care. Whatever you want to change it to. I just don't want the group to go away.
I don't want the group to get. Oh no, I love the group, and the group's been active for 2 years now. So I think we can just kind of we'll figure out what we're going to do with that in the coming weeks. We'll have that ready by WrestleMania. How about that? That's
the Please Still Love Us page.
The Please Still Love Us. I hope so. Now we can change the name, but for now I've
been doing my research on the 3R.
That's right. You're going to bring 3R, but Doug's going to bring 3R back. He did some research this week. So we'll have some stuff cooking, but for now, the Trey and Adam Show on Facebook is the group we're part of. So look that up, and we'll tag you and join you in here. It'll be fun. Okay, so Trey on the radio on Twitter for Trey, and Douglas is at Doug Wrestleview on the Twitter. I am at Adam Wrestleview, of course, at Wrestleview on the Twitters. Subscribe if you enjoy these podcasts because it makes me know that you love us. You can also hear audio versions of this on SoundCloud and iTunes. Just search Wrestleview Media. So that's it for us tonight, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you around WrestleMania time. Peace out.
Later.
Burden.
Burden.
Burden. Burden. Burden. Burden.